Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Content Modeling Weekly course. I am Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, you can get a hold of me right there, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com. That's my email address. Feel free to reach out to me, send me an email with questions, feedback, whatever you like. I love to hear from you. Today, we're going to be focusing on creating a content model to support content snippets, and I'm going to get into a little bit more detail what content snippets are, but it's a great way to maintain your content because that allows you the ability to have a snippet and reuse it everywhere in your content, and then just change that one snippet, and everywhere it's being used, it will automatically pick up that change. So definitely something I recommend to use. But as always, you know how this works out. I will tell you first, before we jump into it, about Headless Creator. Make sure that you register to headlesscreator.com. If you don't have an account yet, just go to sign up right there. And you'll find all of our courses. You can see here the Create a Snippet content model lesson. But this is part of a bigger course called Content Modeling Weekly. And you can see that once you sign up, you'll have access to that plus another 74 units, learning units, with a total of 1,321 hours so far and counting. Every week I add a new lesson to it. So definitely sign up for that. On top of that, you'll have access to a bunch of other courses, including 6 Headless CMS courses on a variety of Headless CMSs, and then one called Discover Headless Tech, which will give you access to a bunch of interviews and also tutorials on different technologies that you should be aware of. So as always, go sign up. It's free. I hope you enjoy it. And I'm trying to reach 1,000 registered users by the end of 2021. So please, if you haven't registered yet, go sign up. I really appreciate that. But as always, that's it for the marketing portion of it. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and restart the intro because the on-demand version does not have any marketing at all. We're going to jump right into the lesson. So I will see you all in just let me get my stuff ready here. I'll see you all in just 20 seconds. Well, hello, and welcome to another lesson of the Content Modeling Weekly course. I am Marcelo Lewin, the Headless Creator. As always, there's my email address. Feel free to reach out to me, Marcelo at headlesscreator.com, with any questions, feedback, comments, whatever you want. Send me an email. I usually get back to you within 24 hours. Today, I'm going to show you how to create a content model to support content snippets. So let's go ahead and jump in. And I'm going to go ahead and get the screen here going. There we go. Here we are. So what are content snippets? Of course, like every good cooking show, we have some stuff that's pre-done already. So there we go. So content snippets are small chunks of editable, that's a hard word to say, editable content that can be reused in any content type. And I'm going to jump into, and we're going to create the content model and show you. But as an example, we have an example here. Let's say you have a product name, and let's say the product name is whatever it may be, Headless CMS Pro, we'll call it that, right? And you know that marketing and other departments in your organization sometimes come up with great ideas, and all of a sudden they go, hey, we're changing the name from Headless CMS Pro, we're going to change it to Headless CMS Pro Plus. And then you go, oh, that's a great idea, but we have 10,000 knowledge base articles that uses that name everywhere. We're going to have to run a script to change it everywhere and make sure that we don't change it in the wrong place, blah, 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 right? That's the idea behind content snippets. Now imagine instead of creating those articles using the word Headless CMS Pro, you would have used a code called product name everywhere you want that name, right? Then you would go and change the value of that name to the Headless CMS Pro Plus. And that's the idea of a content snippet. It's a piece of content that you can create and reuse anywhere you want in your content for easier maintenance. So now marketing comes and says, yeah, let's go with the plus. You changed it and everywhere automatically is now plus. Or they come back and go, you know what? We've tried that. People hate that. Forget it. You just go into the entry, delete that, and now it's back to the way it was. And you can use that for any kind of of content. So that's the idea behind having content snippets, which I highly recommend. So let's talk about a content snippet. So what would a content snippet have? Well, it's a very simple content model. This isn't going to be rocket science at all. So you're going to be surprised how simple it is. But let's create one called content snippet. Make sure we can see that. Yep. And let me move this. I'm going to put this here, and we'll move this over here. So we have that. Let's get this a little bit bigger. Okay. So the content snippet is going to have a name. It's going to have, so this is mainly for text, right? So we're going to have, I'm going to add two fields. One is going to be a short text value, and the other is going to be a long text value. This is going to be an RTF. So let's say you want to have a piece of content that's longer, you would have the ability to create that. The short text value, for example, in this example, product name, we would use the short text, Headless CMS Pro. Now, of course, you could just keep it to a long text value and then parse through that. But then usually RTF fields are stored as JSON objects. It takes a lot more work to parse that out on the back end. So I recommend sticking with or providing two values. Now, what's going to be important, and it's going to be a little confusing at first, but we're going to need an author code ID, and we're going to need a developer code ID. And let me explain why. Let's do this first. The author code ID is going to be for places you can embed entries, right? In RTF fields, you can usually embed entries, but what about in short text fields that you still want you want to put the code, but you can't you can't embed an entry? I would recommend having an author code ID that is friendly to the author and a developer code ID that never changes, that the developer decides what it is, and that's what they use on the back end to do the conversion, right? So the author code ID could be changed, not recommended though, but could be changed, but you can have something simpler. So having said that, let's take, for example, a blog post, and I'm just gonna paste that here because we have, let's say, oops, let's put it here. Let's say we have a blog post. And by the way, if you have any, for those of you watching live, if you have any questions, type them in the chat box or in the chat, and I'll go ahead and answer them for you. But let's say you have a blog that has a title, summary, body, and author. The summary is a type of short text, and the body is a type of RTF, right? And in RTF, you can embed entries. So we're going to allow the embedding of content snippets. So that's it. I mean, a content snippet, it's as simple as that. Now, let's jump in my case, I'm going to use Contentful, but you can use any headless CMS. It's going to be the same thing. I'm going to jump into Contentful. I already created the content model, right? Because you don't want to see me type all the stuff in. But I created the content model right there. You can see content snippet. Content model has a name, short text value, long description value, author ID, developer ID, or code ID. And then, of course, we have just the blog post. Very simple stuff. So let's go ahead and go into content. And if you don't mind, I'm going to take a quick sip of water here. I'm going to jump into the content here. Give me a second.